I stood in my cramped studio apartment, looking at the credit alert notifications illuminating my phone screen. My name is Emma Thompson, and at 29, I had spent the last 10 years building my credit score to near perfection. Every payment made on time, every debt meticulously managed, all while climbing from intern to senior financial analyst at Morris and Wade investment firm. Sis, I maxed out your credit cards to buy my dream house. Sarah's voice bubbled with excitement through my phone speaker. Mom and Dad said you'd understand since you've always been the responsible one. Now, it's my turn to have something nice. Congratulations, I replied, keeping my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. When's the housewarming party? This Saturday. You'll come, right? I mean, you kinda have to. You basically bought it. Sarah laughed with the carefree ease she'd had since childhood, a charm that always seemed to excuse her actions in our parents' eyes. After we hung up, I sat at my small kitchen table, opened my laptop, and started assessing the damage. Sarah had managed to access all 3 of my credit cards, maxing them out to their collective limit of $45,000, charges all from a single day, a massive down payment on a suburban house. It was the kind of place I'd been saving for while living in my tiny studio. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was my mother. Emma, honey, don't be upset with Sarah. She really needed this. You know how hard it's been for her since she quit her job to focus on her influencer career. This house will be perfect for her content. I closed my eyes, thinking of all the times my parents had justified Sarah's behavior. When she borrowed my college fund for her failed boutique venture, totaled my car leading to my insurance being canceled. Each time, the refrain was the same. Be understanding, Emma. Sarah's chasing her dreams. You're the stable one. You can handle it. But this time was different. This time I had proof and a plan. 6 months ago, after Sarah had tried to take out a loan in my name, I installed security cameras in my apartment. I had footage of her breaking in, rummaging through my desk for my credit card information. I also had emails from my parents implying Sarah might need to borrow money and urging me not to cause trouble. More importantly, I had leverage. My position at Morris and Wade wasn't just about analyzing investments. I'd spent years cultivating relationships with real estate developers, understanding market trends, and quietly preparing for my own investments. The house Sarah had just bought using my credit was part of a development project I was consulting on. The real estate agent was a colleague's wife, the property manager a former college roommate. I scrolled through my phone when another message appeared from Sarah's Instagram. Dreams do come true. Can't wait to show everyone my new home at Saturday's housewarming party. #bliss, #new chapter, #dreamhouse. I smiled, screenshot the post, and added it to my growing evidence file. Then, I made 3 calls, one to my lawyer, one to the real estate agent, and one to confirm my attendance at Sarah's housewarming party. The next few days were a blur of preparation. Sarah's social media was filled with photos, furniture shopping, curtain picking, and posting inspirational quotes about claiming what you deserve. My parents called several times, oscillating between guilt trips and rationalizations. Emma, you need to sign these papers for Sarah's mortgage, my father insisted during one call. It's just a formality. You know she's good for it. Of course, Dad, I replied. I'll bring everything to the housewarming party. We can finalize it all then. The day of the party dawned bright and sunny. I parked my modest car among the luxury vehicles lining the suburban street, watching Sarah flit from guest to guest in a designer dress, likely costing more than my monthly rent. Our parents were beaming proudly by her side as she showed off the granite countertops and custom cabinetry. Emma, Sarah squealed when she saw me, rushing over to hug me as if she hadn't just committed credit card fraud. Isn't it amazing? I can totally pay you back once my lifestyle blog takes off. Mom and Dad said you're cool with waiting, right? I hugged her back, feeling the dress's expensive fabric. Actually, I have something for you, a housewarming gift, you might say. Sarah's eyes lit up. She loved gifts, especially when they came at someone else's expense. Really? You didn't have to. I mean, you already helped with the house, she giggled, motioning toward the maxed-out credit cards. Oh, but I insist, I said, reaching into my bag. In fact, why don't we gather everyone around? Mom, Dad, could you join us? I think the whole family should be here for this. My parents exchanged nervous glances, but came over. They recognized that tone. It was the same one I'd used when I found out Sarah had taken my college fund. The one that meant I wasn't going to clean up her mess quietly this time. As a few people gathered around, Sarah's giddy exclamations about a surprise gift filled the air. I extracted a sturdy manila envelope. Sarah, you often mention that family supports family, right? We should be sharing our blessings, I remarked. She nodded eagerly, her hands already reaching for the envelope. Absolutely. This is why I assumed using your credit wouldn't be an issue, we're sisters. Well then, I continued, my voice resonating throughout the foyer with its marble floor, let me share something with you. I began placing its contents on the elegant table in the entrance, one after another. Clear color-printed photos of Sarah breaking into my apartment captured by security cameras, credit card statements with fraudulent expenditures, encouraging emails from our parents about using my credit, and Instagram screenshots of Sarah boasting about her new house, all helpfully time-stamped and notarized. Lastly, there was the piece de resistance. Documentation establishing my link to the development project, the real estate firm, and, critically, the property itself. Sarah's excitement quickly shifted to confusion, then to horror, as she grasped the implications of what she was seeing. Our mother clutched her Desire Minor handbag as if it were a protective shield, gasping audibly. Our father began to speak, but I raised my hand. I'm not finished, I said with steady resolve. There's still more of my gift to present. I then extracted the final document, a lawyer's letter specifying Sarah's legal troubles for credit card fraud, identity theft, and unlawful entry. It also outlined our parents' potential complicity for aiding these crimes. Sarah, I addressed her in the now silent room. When you opted to misuse my credit cards, it wasn't simply fraud. You did it to procure a house within a development where I hold an investment. Every document you signed, every form you submitted, every piece of falsified paperwork, all eventually reached my desk. Sarah's face turned pale as she processed the consequences. Our mother stepped up, launching into her familiar excuses. Emma, you're overreacting. Sarah merely needed some assistance. No, Mom, I interrupted. What Sarah really needs is to face the repercussions for her actions, and what you and Dad need to do is stop supporting her irresponsibility. I turned back to Sarah, who slumped onto one of her newly acquired designer chairs, as her perfect housewarming event crumbled around her. So here's the deal, I said. You have two choices. Either you face prosecution for fraud, given the substantial sums involved and the clear evidence, jail time is a likely result. I paused, allowing the gravity to dawn on her, noticing her once confident demeanor now dissolved into fear. Or, I went on, you can sign these papers. I revealed another set of documents, transferring the house to me, the rightful owner, since it was my credit used to purchase it. It included her confession of the fraud, as well as a repayment plan for all she had misappropriated. You can't do this, Sarah murmured, yet the conviction was absent from her voice. Mom, Dad, tell her she can't do this. But our parents remained silent, perhaps recognizing that guilt trips and family obligations could no longer remedy this situation. The other guests had quietly inched towards the periphery, observing the unfolding spectacle with shock and intrigue. Actually, I replied, and I am. You've until the party ends to decide. Choose wisely, sis. With those words, I picked up my bag and headed toward the exit, pausing momentarily to glance at the house Sarah once envisioned as her utopia. Oh, and Sarah, consider this the last gift I'll ever give you. Family helps family, right? Her sobs echoed behind me as I stepped out, but for the first time, I did not turn back to clean up her mess. Sometimes, the best gift one can offer is the opportunity for someone to truly confront reality. The next morning, my phone buzzed incessantly with notifications. Sarah had spent the night sharing tearful Instagram stories about familial betrayal and seeking forgiveness, crafting a narrative portraying herself as the victim. Each dramatic post came with carefully posed selfies highlighting her tear-streaked cheeks. Sipping my coffee, I watched the family's ordeal unfold across my screen. Our parents had called 17 times since I had left the party, leaving increasingly desperate voicemails. My mother's latest message implored, "Emma, please, we can solve this within the family. Sarah made a mistake, but she's your sister. Think about what this will do to her future." I pondered my own future, the one meticulously constructed while Sarah breezed through life on family favors and endless second chances. The security footage of her breaking into my apartment remained open on my laptop, a stark reminder that such mistakes were decisions. My attorney, Diana, rang around midday. "The documents are ready," she announced, her tone professional but tinged with satisfaction. "Has your sister made her decision?" "Not yet," I responded, "but she will." Facing the real prospect of prison time should be sufficient motivation. A sharp rapping at my door interrupted me. Looking through the peephole, I saw my father standing in the hall, his expression firm. Throughout my childhood, when rules were laid down, a certain phrase was used: "I'll call you back." I said this to Diana as I opened the door, but blocked the entrance. "Dad," I addressed, meeting his gaze as he tried to peer past me into the apartment. "We need to address this absurd situation with your sister." "Absurd?" I questioned incredulously, raising an eyebrow. "Is that our new term for credit card fraud now?" He shifted uncomfortably and replied, "You know what I mean." Sarah is devastated. She's had to remove all her social media posts about the house, and her followers are demanding answers. This could damage her influence her entire career. Her career? I laughed, unable to contain my disbelief. "Dad, she committed several felonies. Her career should be the least of her worries at present." "Don't be so dramatic," he began, but I interrupted him. "Oh, you want to discuss drama? Let's talk about the emails you and Mom sent encouraging Sarah to use my credit cards. How about the plan to have me unknowingly sign mortgage documents? Should we perhaps involve Diana to understand the legal ramifications of conspiring to commit fraud?" My mention of my lawyer made him hesitate. For the first time, fear flickered in his eyes. "You wouldn't really charge your own sister, would you?" he questioned. "Why not?" I retorted firmly, meeting his gaze. "She truly wouldn't steal from her sister, and you wouldn't help her, right?" He ran a hand through his graying hair, suddenly seeming smaller, the authority figure who always sided with Sarah finally facing the reality of their choices. "What do you want?" he asked quietly. "I want Sarah to sign those documents, to take responsibility for once. I want you and Mom to stop facilitating her antics. And if we don't," he challenged. I held up my phone, showing him evidence I had collected. "Then I let the law decide," I stated. "It's your choice, Dad, as it was your choice to assist her in stealing from me." He left without another word, but I knew this wasn't over. Sarah had never accepted consequences easily, and our parents had always shielded her from them. Sure enough, by evening, Sarah launched a new attempt. She appeared in my office, tears elegantly cascading down her face, dressed in an outfit probably more expensive than the unpaid credit cards. "Emma, please," she sobbed, aware of my colleagues discreetly watching. "I know I made a mistake, but I can't go to jail. What about my followers? My brand?" I led her to a private room, maintaining composure despite her performance. "Your brand?" I asked quietly. "The one built while living rent-free with Mom and Dad? The one financed with stolen money and family guilt?" "That's not fair," she argued. "I'm trying to build something. You've always had everything: perfect job, perfect credit score. Some of us need to take risks to succeed." "Risks?" I said, opening my laptop and displaying security footage. "Is that what you call breaking and entering now? Taking risks?" She fell silent, watching herself on screen, rummaging through my desk, triumphantly showcasing my credit card details. "Sarah," I continued calmly, "I don't care about your brand or followers. I care about justice. You stole from me, and now you must choose: sign the documents or face the police. It's straightforward. Mom and Dad will never forgive you." She tried once more. "Maybe not," I acknowledged, "but I won't forgive them for what they've already done. It's your choice now." After she departed, I received a series of guilt-laden messages from our mother. Your sister cries herself to sleep. How can you be so cruel to family? We raised you better than this. My response was succinct. Yes, you did raise me better than theft and fraud. Pity you didn't do the same for Sarah. Later, on a video call with Diana as we reviewed the transfer papers, she noted something in the property records. Your parents took out a second mortgage last week, right after Sarah used your credit cards. Let me guess, I interjected. They planned to secretly help her pay off my cards, hoping I wouldn't notice the charges until too late. Exactly, she confirmed. They were involved from the start. This wasn't just Sarah being impulsive. It was a calculated family decision that excluded you. I reflected on skipped family dinners, missed vacations to save money, hearing Emma will understand, when something was needed at my expense. Send me everything, I instructed Diana. Every email, document, record. It's time they realized understanding isn't acceptance of abuse. As our call ended, Sarah's text appeared. No theatrics, just, I'll sign. I had arrived early, anticipating the meeting at Diana's office set for 10 a.m. With a city skyline as a backdrop, dark clouds seemed fitting for the situation. Sarah arrived, tardy by exactly 13 minutes, with our parents accompanying her like bodyguards. Her usual high-end attire was swapped for a simple black dress, as if playing a repentant sibling. Yet, the glint in her eye suggested she had a trick up her sleeve. Before we begin, Sarah announced with a flourish, displaying a folder. She spread out documents and recalled the boutique I once helped her start and its subsequent failure. I saved every paper you signed. She pointed at the signature that bound me as a guarantor for all her ventures, past, present, and future. If I go down for fraud, so do you, she declared. Our mother's expression was triumphant, and our father, satisfied. Examining the document, I signaled Diana. Show them, I said softly. Diana revealed her laptop screen to them, a video from 6 years ago, capturing Sarah practicing forging my signature at my desk repeatedly. I was aware of your forgery, I stated evenly. Each fraudulent paper or signature you mimicked, I knew. Why else would cameras be in place? Sarah's smug demeanor faltered. This isn't bluffing. On October 15, 2019, you used my computer to print blank contracts and hone my signature. It's all recorded, just like your theft of my credit card details. I turned to our parents now still. I possess every email, text, proving this was no solo act. This was orchestrated as a family. Why didn't you foil her if you knew? My mother murmured. To fathom the extent you'd permit her to exploit me, I replied. Evidently, no bounds existed. Diana interjected, sliding true transfer documents forward. Your attempt at coercion is noted and included in our case. Will we proceed with the original arrangement, or is court your path? Sarah's gaze lowered, her fake documents forgotten. Sign them, our father abruptly instructed. Sign and conclude this. But Dad, Sarah reacted, but his patience thinned. Attempting your approach faltered. Sign before she opts for court over a payment. Watching her realization of defeat, her manipulative tactics dismantled, Sarah succumbed. The papers bore her uncertain signature, distinct from mine. Diana verified the papers legally as my mother pleaded one last time. We can solve this together as a family, she implored. Sarah will repay you gradually. No, Mom, the time for resolution as a family passed. Consequences matter now. What do you require of me? Sarah inquired meekly. I want maturity from you, I responded. Grasp that choices bear consequences. Family isn't a doormat for maltreatment. Packing my copies, I indicated Diana. Our house will list for sale next week. Proceeds settle my accounts and legal fees, surplus toward your debt. You have 5 years to clear it. Or what? There was defiance still in Sarah's tone. Or everything goes, I asserted. The authorities receive our evidence. Your influencer narrative turns into cautionary fraud warning, and Mom and Dad face charges as accessories. It remains your choice, though I'm done shielding you. Leaving Diana's office, I heard my mother's tears and my father consoling Sarah. But for once, their pain wasn't my burden. The clouds outside dissipated, sunlight streaming through, and I felt unburdened. Over the years, sometimes the chains we bear are those we've created ourselves, link by link, out of a sense of family duty. Finally, I've broken free from them. Exactly a year on, I found myself in front of the house where it had all begun. The sold sign wavered gently in the spring breeze, a fitting conclusion to this chapter of our family saga. The sale had surpassed expectations, clearing my credit card debt and leaving Sarah with a reduced balance to settle. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. "I made this month's payment early. Just thought you'd like to know," she said. While a small gesture, it carried weight. Over the year, she'd made each payment punctually, secured a position at a marketing firm, and started carving out a life anchored on genuine work instead of manipulation. Losing the house and encountering potential legal repercussions ultimately compelled her to mature. I replied with a succinct, received, "Thank you," before tucking my phone into my pocket. Our relationship would never revert to what it once was. Too much had shattered. But now it was honest. My parents underwent transformations too. In the first months following the sale, things were tense, filled with guilt trips and tearful voicemails concerning loyalty to the family. Yet once they realized I wasn't going to change course, a shift occurred. "I've started seeing a therapist," my father mentioned in our first meeting over coffee after 6 months. "She's helping me understand why we enabled Sarah for so long and why we placed so much on you." My mother needed more time to come around. Last week, she left a voicemail that kept echoing in my mind. "I'm sorry, Emma. Not just for what transpired with Sarah, but for every instance we made your boundaries seem irrelevant. You deserved better." Diana had retained all the incriminating documents just in case, yet we hadn't required them. The mere threat of consequences was more persuasive than the repercussions themselves. The house's new owners were a young family with 2 children. Occasionally, I drive by and spot them playing outside, turning the house into their own. It seemed right. The house intended as Sarah's influencer backdrop had shifted to someone else's sincere dream. My own life had evolved too. The promotion I'd been striving toward was realized, partly due to the way I'd handled the investment property situation. "You demonstrated excellent judgment and risk management skills," my boss acknowledged. "That's exactly what we seek in a chief investment officer." I invested a portion of my new salary in purchasing a compact yet elegant condo overlooking the city, with no security cameras this time. I no longer needed them. Those who might have betrayed me had learned their lesson. Sarah's influencer pursuits took a hit when she abruptly went silent about her dream house, but she adapted. Her new content revolved around financial responsibility and learning from mistakes. Ironic, yet at least it was authentic. "Your sister's latest post made sense," my colleague James noted during lunch, the one regarding how familial love shouldn't necessitate sacrificing your self-respect. I had seen the post. Sarah had penned about our situation without naming names, acknowledging her mistakes, and imparting what she had learned. The comments section brimmed with similar tales of familial financial exploitation and the bravery required to take a stand against it. As I stood in front of the sold house for one final time, I sensed closure. My phone buzzed again, reminding me of dinner with my parents that evening. We had started holding monthly dinners, just the 3 of us, without Sarah, without drama, simply rebuilding trust step by step. They had changed. Their blind loyalty to Sarah had given way to a newfound understanding of family dynamics. They even began repaying their portion of the money Sarah had unlawfully taken, unprompted. "We want to make things right," my father had explained, "not just the money, but everything." As I turned to leave, I caught my reflection in the car window. I appeared stronger somehow, more assured. The woman who had allowed herself to be used for family obligation's sake was gone, replaced by someone who grasped that genuine love didn't demand self-sacrifice. Recently, my mother inquired if I regretted pressing charges, if I believed I had been too harsh. I answered truthfully. Sometimes, the kindest act is enabling someone to experience the consequences of their choices. Sarah needed to learn this lesson, and so did they. Starting my car, I glanced one last time at the house in my rearview mirror, the sold sign catching the afternoon light like a promise fulfilled. A year ago, This house symbolized all that was wrong within my family, the deceit, the lies, the manipulation. Now it represented something else, the bravery to stand up for oneself, even when it brings pain. Driving away, a smile formed on my lips. Occasionally, happy endings don't align with our expectations. Sometimes they manifest as enforced boundaries, lessons grasped, and new beginnings established on honest ground. My phone buzzed again, a message from Diana. Dinner next week? I'm contemplating writing a book on financial abuse within families. Your story might assist others. I replied eagerly, count me in, as I headed home. After all, the greatest vengeance isn't just achieving success, it's aiding others and discovering their strength through your experiences too.